yes, another random day, another random time from Dad's RC Hangar. Yes, it's a Thursday. It is indeed, and I think we're in July, and it's something around about the 6th of July. Something like that. Anyway, it's a little small, quick video, I suppose you got, just for a call out for XJET. Yes, XJET is the push behind this RC Fun Adventures, and if there's something trying to squish it, he's there because he's a bit of a media guru from past anyway. Now, there's a couple of people in the links. It's XJET and also Tim McKay. Two people that I'd like you to watch all about this remote ID. Now, you're saying, Chris, but this is the FAA. Yes, FAA, get it right, Chris. The FAA. What? And you're in the UK, or the CAA. So what's it all about? Well, eventually it's going to come to here. Now, in the UK, on the website, it's saying that they're not going to really look at it until the end of 23, the beginning of 24, and then it might not even come about. Now, also, at the end of the day, it is law. It was passed in law months and months ago, and it's coming in effect in September of this year in America and anyone else that's under the FAA, Australia, and all that sort of stuff. Now, it is a law, so like any law, if you break it, you're going to get busted. So there's a lot of people out there that's always trying to find hacks against it and bits and pieces like that. That is entirely up to you. Myself, you know, I belong to the BMFA, and I also go and fly my planes, which is behind here, and quads or quadcopters or drones, as everyone likes to call them, in a specific fields that's been recognised by the BMFA. Now, you had this in America, the AWA. Now, the AWA is a recognised body like the BMFA, and since you've had a law that's finished or resolution or whatever it is, which says that, you know, if you wanted a field, they've got to look at the impact of nature and everything else, and you've got to wait 60 days and then blah, blah, blah. That's all finished with last week. Yes, you don't need to do that. So the AWA should be trying to find your fields to fly in or somewhere. Now, it's a bit strange in America, because if you try and fit the UK in America, it's probably a little cool now in America. You know, America's huge. You know, everything's huge in America. I love America and what it stands for and everything else. It's brilliant. Don't worry, I'm a patriot of the UK as well, United Kingdom, but I do love America. And I get it that, you know, that if you haven't got a field, because if you've got a field, if you've got a field that is recognised by the AWA or the BMFA, you do not need remote ID. You do not need that. Now, this is only my little skim off it, really, and to push out XJET and to make sure that you like, and you don't have to subscribe to me. It's nice if you do, but like it and push it forward, because it helps it get it out there and make people understand that, yes, I get it, that they want, I think they eventually want airspace for commercial use. So, obviously, you know, we need, you know, if you've got a commercial drone delivering, you know, sort of medical supplies or supplies or even shipments, then they need to know if you're flying in that area, whether it be a plane or whether it be a drone or something like that. Now, that's fine, okay, to me that's okay, but at the end of the day, the way they're pushing it forward is that, you know, it's all about safety and things and pieces, which I think is a bit of hodgepodge. I'm sorry, because, you know, I haven't heard of an accident, you know, sort of touch wood, with a quad. There's been some accidents with some scale fixed wings, because obviously people like in, I think, the poor sod in Spain that walked across the flight line without telling anyone, and the plane hit them, and unfortunately they passed. You know, sort of my feelings out to their family and everything else, because it's terrible. But they're not thinking of the actual hobbyist. I mean, you know, when you're flying, let's call them what they call them. They call these drones, you know. When you're flying these and you're flying them around the forests, you're being safe, because everyone does. Everyone doesn't go out there to hurt people. They want to be safe. But it's like, you know, some of the videos that I see from drone pilots, also from quadcopter pilots, are fantastic. I get to see the other world, around the world, from my settee, from my chair, that I would never normally see. I mean, you know, touch wood, I don't, but I could get hit by a truck tomorrow and I've never seen the world. And through the eyes of a quadcopter, up high, I get to see lanes, I get to see grasslands, I get to see things all around the country. And I think that's the sadness of it all, that not everyone's out there to cause an issue. I mean, come on, if people go out there to cause an issue, they're not going to use remote ID anyway. So it's really hurting my head. I don't understand it. As I say, I'm a rule follower, and, you know, if you need insurance, if you need this, I get it, because I want to enjoy my hobby. I don't want to be looking behind my back saying, oh, am I doing something wrong here? Yes, it's a pain in the UK at the moment. We are losing our fields, our BMFA fields. And we've got to go drive a bit further. But in America, I know from a few friends out there, if they want to go to a flying field that's by the AWA, they've got to drive about 100 miles. I mean, 100 miles in America is nothing, I know. I moan at 100 miles because I'm in the UK, but, you know, you've got big vehicles and your diesel's cheap as chips, and you just go there. You know, we're in the UK, it's so expensive, even to drive down the road. You probably use a tank of fuel, it's going to cost you £1 million. Okay, slight exaggeration, but it's all good. So, yeah, so I'm still confused in why and how and what for. You know, okay, you could still, you know, there'll be hopefully a lot more AWA fields, because you can get an area that you know is safe and everything else, and they can inspect it and before 60 days. I'm really surprised that if remote ID, that they didn't wait another at least 6 months to a year until, because literally it was about a week ago that this law about waiting 60 days for the environment check finished. To at least give the AWA a chance to get some fields or some land. I mean, some of the guys I watch, you know, they look at their back and you say, Chris, look out my back door. And it is desert. It is desert for the eye can see. And then some mountains. So, plenty of space to say this is, you know, this is on the map. So any planes or anything else that come by know we're here. And to avoid this little circle at all costs, because there are fixed wings, drones and helicopters, even helicopters. That's one thing anyway. So I say I'm not going to go too much into it because I don't know enough, and I don't want to. This is just a make note of people. Just go and watch, you know, XJET and Tim McKay, because they both. I mean, Tim McKay, you know, ex-military pilot, ex-commercial pilot, Superior RC pilot. He knows his stuff. XJET, he knows it all as well, and he knows the law, even though he's not, you know, the law. You know, he's a media guru from past, and so he knows his stuff. And between them two, you get real what's going on, and obviously their links to the FAA video, and it just says to me, okay, you know, this commercial, it's all about commercial. And the thing that's annoying me about commercial is remote ID. Okay, you probably got to add another 40 grams. So where am I going to add it to my little cine whoop? I love my cine whoop. You know, I'm terrible at flying. This is why I'm not flying everywhere. Mainly because I need certain goggles, because of my PIP. But I love flying this. I wouldn't dream of flying this at the moment, my little race squad. But where am I going to add 40 grams to that? And, you know, all this sort of stuff. And trouble is, the companies out there that are making this remote ID, that obviously jumped on the bandwagon and charging a fortune. And not just that, you've got to have one, apparently at the moment, at this time of video, you've got to have one per drone, heliquad, helicopter or fixed wing. I mean, come on, it's going to cost me a fortune. And they are ripping it out your backside for the cost. You know, it probably cost about, I don't know, excuse me, it's cost me about £10, $20 or whatever to make, and they're charging up to $80. So whatever there's that in pounds and everything else. And for one, there's not even something that they could do with the radio. Now, I know, looking at Tim McKay, they were saying that there's possibly another Spectrum radio and a Spectrum receiver that handles all that, and so you can have one receiver per. I don't know how it's all going to work, but the thing I want to push it for is those who's made the rules. Think about the hobbyist. Think about us that just want to go out and have fun. These days, mental health is a real thing. It really is. Whether you can't see it, it's a bit like me when I had a virus. I've still got a virus. You can't see it. You say, Chris, you're okay. You don't look unwell. But yes, I still feel a bit crap. But before, when I made the video the other week, I felt absolutely terrible. But it doesn't look like it. And that's the same with mental health. You don't see it in people. You know, and this is therapy. You know, I know a lot of people that have problems with mental health for different things. And it's not just streets. We're talking about sort of like PTSD and all sorts of things like that. You know. And they use RC as a form of therapy. They clock off. When I go to one of my fields, the rule is you have to turn your phone off so you don't annoy other people. But that is the only time I am free of the world, that I'm free of all my stresses and bits and pieces, and I go and enjoy myself. I really do. That's why if I crash, I crash. I'm not going to get upset about it, because it's what it is. And they haven't thought about that the thousands of people that may not be able to afford an extra $80, that they could just about afford a quadcopter of their own bits and pieces, and you're stopping them from going out and flying, and that is their release. So because of that, then it's going to cause a problem with someone else, like the doctors and bits and pieces, because they've got, you know, help these people. It's just cost elsewhere. Unfortunately, it seems to me, it could be wrong, that the commercial sector has obviously handed out a few envelopes of money and said, right, this is, oh, we want this airspace, because obviously the only next free airspace is above 60,000 feet, which is free airspace. And our airspace under 500 feet in the UK, is it 400 feet? 400 feet in the UK, because and craft civil aviation can only go down as 500 feet. Don't quote me on all that, but it's 400 feet. I should know that, especially coming up from my A certificate. You know, they could, you know, just say, you know, okay, let's raise the lowest limit for the commercial airlines to 600 feet, okay, and the hobbyists can only go up to 300 feet. It is what it is. Okay, slope soarers right now are throwing stuff at me. I can see that. But then that gives that little space for all the commercial stuff that they want to do. But they've really just wiped us out and not realising the impact that it's doing for people. I mean, the impact on how many people have got jobs that make these things and make these things behind me. How many shops, you know, okay, everything's going online anyway, but how many shops are closing? And it's a real big impact that people do not realise, that people high up just think, don't worry about it, you know, don't think about anything else, we're thinking about whatever. And that's the sad thing about it, and this is why I'm pushing for people to go and watch XJET. Tim McKay, because he's my go-to knowledge guy, fantastic, and lots of things, lovely guy. And obviously XJET is the wild man that obviously that's supporting us, when really the BMFA, I mean, okay, this is the UK, maybe they will, but the AWA, I don't know what they're doing in America to help you, but I really hope they're trying to find flying fields and everything, so then you don't have to use the remote ID. Which is fine. Yes, you have to pay, you know, for your membership and bits and pieces, but that's acceptable, isn't it? I think. You know, at the moment we use a pilot ID. We have to in each of my planes or whatever else. I've got my pilot ID inside. You know, that's fine. You know, there's other things that people are saying. You know, sort of like, you know, everyone gets your information. Well, I don't think that's the case. I think that you know, people who the law enforcement will have your information, but that's like anything anyway. If they know who you are, then you've got the information. I think in that aspect is that if you're doing something wrong, then that's when you've got to worry. That's it. You know, the law is the law. But, excuse me, that's fine. But think about us hobbyists, and that's what really upsets me. And I've tried to look at so much information and videos and bits and pieces and stuff like that, and there's no real sort of like a mention of us as a hobbyist to say, you know, we are trying to do this for the hobbyists to help them out, blah, 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 blah. We need, obviously, the future goes on. You can't stop the future from happening. And it's going to be good for the future. I mean, you know, if you get like a quad drone that can get to you quicker than an ambulance, that's going to be fine. If it's a friend, a family that's there sitting and needs something straight away, that's sort of like an EpiPen. You haven't got an EpiPen. Ambulance is stuck in traffic, but you can put one on a quadcopter that get to you just like that and save your family. You think things like that, and it's like, yes, I can understand that. I really can, and it's great that things are moving forward like this. You look at something like Star Wars and bits and pieces, if you like sci-fi, then you'll see them little lanes of traffic, you know, in the air. That's as similar as the sort of thing hopefully is going to happen eventually. But at the moment, millions of people use RC as, you know, sort of like human therapy. You know, you're with other people, you're having fun. Humans need interaction with humans. You know, we're too on the computers and everything else. Don't want to sound like an old fart, but even I'm on the computer a lot, on my phone a lot, bits and pieces. But we are built for human interaction. And this is what helps us overcome a lot of stress, which is one of the biggest killers in the world, stress, believe it or not. Overcome this, and obviously our mental health and everything else, and that's what I'm trying to push across. I could rattle on for days, but I haven't got the knowledge and brain for the for the big words on papers and bits and pieces, you know, and that's what Tim McKay's all about, and also XJET. But this is my 5 pence worth on a Thursday. Yes, on a Thursday, my first bit of a remote ID. It's going to happen. It is happening. Whether it happens in the UK, we'll have to wait and see, or the rest of the countries. But I implore you, powers to be, have a think about the little guy that just wants to go out and have fun and enjoy himself in life. That's not too much to ask, is it? If people were going to go and do bad stuff, they're going to do it regardless anyway. So, you know, they say, you know, digital license plate, okay. You know, you'll get robbers and bits and pieces that will forge a license plate or not even have a license plate. Have a think, you know. Anyway, let's not get too down in the dumps. Go and watch them, you know, like this to help it, to help the algorithm and all that sort of thing, please, to bring it up so remote ID stays up at the top and doesn't dissipate and you know, everyone think, oh, after their moment it'll disappear. It disappears, it's fine. Keep it up there. So if you find anyone that does remote ID, just watch it and you know, push it out bits and pieces. And if you want to subscribe to this crazy channel and join my RC journey, and hopefully a continued RC journey, then subscribe and all that sort of lovely stuff. So, Friday feeling is just around the corner. Friday feeling is tomorrow, and hopefully I'll have some fun stuff for Friday. I've not kind of decided if I'm well enough to fly an aeroplane. My head is still a bit fuzzy, and that is a wrong thing to do. If you're going to fly, do not fly while you're unwell. But maybe I might get a helicopter out or something and just fool around with that while I can. Or maybe even in the back garden while I can. Anyway, if you're getting out there, be safe, keep safe, and most of all, have fun and push this hobby to all the young ones. Get them out there and have some fun. And don't forget, speak to everyone you can about remote ID. Because it's going to happen, but let's do it the right way. See you now.